If that's the best you can do, I think that is too small. Please put your hands together.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Please, I'm going to use one of my favorite phrases when I speak in Nigeria, which is, please allow me to rest on existing protocol. If you'll be so kind. Thank you very much. And it was wonderful being here yesterday. I really enjoyed the conversation. So looking forward to today as well. Please, you can help me with the next slide. I've got some animation in this slide, so I'll just be telling you to click. So quickly, to introduce myself, you can click 2 more times. So my name is Ashley Immanuel, co-founder, COO of a company called Semicolon. Previously, I was CEO of an organization called EFINA that promotes financial inclusion in Nigeria. So it's actually a pleasure to be here and hear somebody present about Takaful, because when I was with EFINA, we actually worked with NICOM to create enabling regulations for non-interest or Islamic finance, including Takaful. So it's lovely after some years to start to see these products enter the market and drive more inclusion. If you click again, so you're very welcome to call me, click Ashley or Oluwakemi, depending on your preference, or Iyaitunu. Next slide, please. So what is Semicolon? We created Semicolon to address youth unemployment and drive digital transformation in Nigeria and Africa. And we do a few things. We build tech talent. So we have a program training software engineers called Techpreneurship program. We help those talent find jobs. We provide services for companies, because a lot of companies, one of their key challenges to growth is finding the right quality tech talent or local affordable service providers to build their technology. And we also work quite a bit with startups, because we realize that this is the engine of job creation. So on the next slide, please. And just a little bit more about us. I won't spend time here, but we just welcomed our 26th cohort of techpreneurs this week in Semicolon. We've graduated over 550 who are now in very good quality, high earning jobs. We've worked with hundreds of startups, etc. So next slide, please. So today, there are a few things I've been asked to speak about, and I'm going to start with opportunities for youth. So this question, how do we create a Nigeria in which all of our youth have the opportunity to thrive? And I really enjoyed the comrade's remarks immediately prior, because I think she is exactly right, that we are only as prosperous as our least prosperous citizen, right? So until all of our youth are thriving or have the opportunity to thrive, we are not thriving. Next slide, please. I like this excerpt from our national youth policy, which is that youth should have equal opportunities to realize their dreams and aspirations. Next slide, please. But we know that right now youth are facing challenges, right? We have high rates of unemployment, cost of living. It seems every day you go to the market and egg is more. Even Gary stuff, the price don't increase, right? We don't have a lot of opportunities to good quality, high earning careers for all of our youth, especially those from low income backgrounds. And then some people will complain about the rate of japa, but we know that many people can't even japa, even if they want to, right? So next slide, please. But we know that there are tremendous opportunities. By 2040, half of the world's working age population will be in Africa. We know that the largest nation in Africa by population is Nigeria. So the future global workforce is increasingly shifting here. We have the opportunity to be providing services, including technology services, to the world, as all of the other countries, even India, if you look at the fertility rate in India today, it's less than 2.1, which means that the population will start to shrink if that trend continues. Or in Nigeria, I think it's 5 point something. So we are going to increasingly, the global workforce is shifting here. We also have the opportunity. In prior industrial revolutions, Nigeria, Africans have predominantly been consumers. And I think that this came up yesterday, that we are sort of net importing as a nation in Nigeria. We have the opportunity to become producers, to create the solutions. And this can be physical, but increasingly it can be technology that the rest of the world will consume. So next slide, please. So I believe that all of us, especially those in government, but those of us who are business leaders, community leaders as well, have the mandate to create a covenant with our youth. That if they work hard and act ethically, there is an opportunity for them to thrive. Right? So how do we realize this imperative? Next slide, please. So we need to focus on many things, but one in particular is building that human capital. Right? What is our asset? It's our people. This will help us build our economies, this will help us solve our problems, and then create that opportunity pathway for youth. Next slide, please. But I know you're going to say, actually, how many, can I see a show of hands? How many people here currently work for a local government? Don't be shy, I won't call on you. Okay, are there any who are aspiring to work for local government? Okay, some. So when we have these conversations, we tend to hear government representatives at all levels express frustration about the challenges that are faced, right? Lack of resources. We don't have enough budget. Sometimes we don't have the talent within government, right, that we would ideally want to have. The tenure in office, our terms in office, are short compared to the time it takes to achieve results, especially when we're talking about investing in people, right? This is a 20-year plus return cycle. And as we heard yesterday, Dr. Abba and others, I think, really nicely highlighted the fact that for local government in particular, there's complexity around the mandate, around the authority, around the budget. So there are challenges, I completely understand that. But if we go to the next slide, please. I would say that let's shift our mindsets a bit. Click again, please. Click. From one of scarcity, and click again. So researchers have studied people in experiments and found that when we feel we don't have enough of something, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough resources, we don't have enough time, we actually make worse decisions for ourselves, objectively worse decisions. And this has been proven time and time again. Please click again. This happens for individuals, it also happens for organizations, companies that are too focused on scarcity and losing and competition. Will make worse decisions, but same too for government. So if you click again, like 2 or 3 more times, we want to shift to more of an abundance mindset. Click, please. So we want to think more broadly and strategically, and really open our minds around how can we unlock value. So if you click again, please, down. You just, like 3 more times. 2 more times. Good, so we can shift our mindsets from thinking about, if we train people, the best ones are just going to leave anyway. No, we want to think about, how do we create so much talent that some will leave and it's fine, and they even help support the local ecosystem after they go, right? We don't have enough budget, then it's how do we partner? How do we train? Sometimes when we have a scarcity mindset, we see the magnitude of need and we just rush. We need to train so many people so fast, and we rush into a lot of low quality programming that's not strategic. So if you click again, we want to think more about, okay, we do realize an imperative for speed, but how do we position ourselves for long-term success? Next slide, please. So we want to avoid this. I know the podium is here, so we might not be able to see, but in the first box, somebody's saying the good news is we're moving very fast, everybody claps. The bad news, we're heading in the wrong direction. I don't know about you, but I've definitely seen teams that have made this mistake, right? They're working really hard and they're trying their best, but when you look at the result, we do not see strategic outcomes. So we want to avoid that. Just click a few more times. Oh, that's fine. So what do we need to do, especially within government, but across all of our work, private sector, public sector? We need to be deliberate in identifying and articulating our priority goals. We know we cannot do everything, so it takes some work and some consultation, but we identify those. Then we create very clear strategies to achieve those. In policy and development space, sometimes use something called a theory of change. Happy to talk more about what that is later on. But there are ways that we can be very strategic in our planning. And then we want to measure our progress and learn. We never get it fully right the first time, but we do need to capture some data to understand what's really happening and be objective about it, right? We're not trying to measure just for positive storytelling. We're measuring for learning as well. Next slide, please. So if you click down a little bit. So let me tell a story here. So let's imagine that we realize that there's a tremendous global need for mangoes, right? And there's clear opportunity because in Nigeria we have the right climate, we have farmers, we can grow mangoes. Right? So we say, okay, great. Strategic objective is to capture this market share. We're going to grow mangoes. It's going to drive prosperity in our country. So click again. So we start to sit down and strategize, and we realize there are some things that we can do to support farmers in growing more mangoes, and we have a clear plan. And then somebody says, wait, but when you plant a mango tree, before it bears fruit, is going to be some years. I'm not a farmer, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so. Somebody here I'm sure knows, but it's going to be some years. And then they say, term of office is only 4 years. Let's imagine, right? So we're not going to have mangoes before we leave office, before the next election. Please click again. So let's plant bananas, right? But we don't need bananas. There's enough bananas. What happens if we create programs planting bananas? The programs may be executed very well. Lots of bananas are, fertilizer is given, farmland is cleared, bananas are grown. Bananas go into the market. Bananas spoil. Nobody wants bananas. Your banana price crashes. So the ones who were farming before, now they're suffering because you flooded the market with government-funded bananas, right? So this is an example. We know that sometimes there will be imperatives, there will be challenges, there will be levers, but we need to keep ourselves focused on the strategic goals, the mangoes, right? We need to, I would suggest, we need to give ourselves the imperative to demonstrate some results while we are in the role we're in, to sustain some of the results that started before us, before we entered that were worthwhile. But we also need to plant some trees whose shade we will never sit under, right? That's a mark of success. I will tell maybe one more story. I don't think I have it in this slide before I go on. But we said that government, we often recognize that there's a challenge of resource constraints, right? Even though, I spoke with somebody earlier this morning about, okay, if you were to engage local government, what would you want? And he said they should give me money. And of course, for the population, sometimes it looks like government is rich, but we know that our budgets don't really reach everything that needs to be done. So there's a resource constraint. I'll tell this story. There was a Stanford professor who put her, who grouped her class into teams. And she gave them $5 and 2 hours. And she said the goal is to make as much money as possible. Right? So all of the teams went out, they did different things. Some of the teams went to buy used items and tried to resell them for a higher value. Some of the teams tried to invest in different ways and quickly create more value. The team that made the most money, they made $650 from $5. So it was tremendous multiple in terms of return. The team that made the most money, you know what they did? They forgot about the $5. So they forgot about being resource constrained, that they were working with a small budget. They stepped back and they said, okay, we don't have a lot of money, but what do we have? And how can we use that as effectively as possible? And they realized the most valuable thing that they had was their presentation time. And so they sold to a company that wanted to sell to Stanford graduate students. That they said, okay, you can come, you can use our presentation slot, you can pitch your company's services, and you'll pay us for that advertising. And they made $650. So likewise for government, we want to think about what do we have? We can have convening power, we can have networks, there are other ways that we can work together effectively. I have seen some representatives in our current government at federal and state levels model this well, and they have launched and run programs without spending budget, pretty much. But they've launched large-scale programs because they were able to convene stakeholders. Next slide, please. So very quickly, I will just talk a little bit about digital skills. I won't go deep into it. But this, coming back to this mandate around creating opportunity for youth to thrive, one of the key things we need to do is look at our digital skills. And what we see is that we can think of it like a pyramid. So all of our citizens need to be digitally literate. Right? They know how to use devices, they know how to be safe. Many people increasingly need to use digital skills across any profession. So if you are an accountant, if you are a lawyer, etc., you may have some technical skills that are not digital, but you need to use technology to do your work as effectively as possible. But then we also need some people who are dedicated IT professionals. These are your software engineers, these are your people who can create technology, and we need some entrepreneurs who are going to use technology to create jobs. Next slide, please. So I'll just give some examples. Within Semicolon, we have started building that pool of IT professionals and potential technology entrepreneurs. And I won't tell all the stories here, but what we've seen again and again is that it's very possible to take young Nigerians who may have done everything that they were told to do. They went to university, they worked hard, but they graduated, could not find a job. Or they could not find a good quality job. Maybe they're braiding hair, somebody was playing organ in a church, but sleeping in the security house of the church, right? Once we take a chance on them and the right opportunity in the right format, they can become software engineers. They can work for OpenAI. We have a few people who are actually working there, the company that created ChatGPT. Companies like Digicore, InterSwitch, many of the banks, etc. So if you go to the next slide, please. You can skip this one, this is just a few more stories. I'll speak a little bit about that top of that pyramid because we also need to create we need to also create job creators, and these are our entrepreneurs, right? Tega and Efe, who are the two men in this photo, the woman in the middle is one of their employees. They actually came through Semicolon's Techpreneurship program, and then they wanted to go the entrepreneurship route. They saw some challenges in the mobility space, that if you want to take a bus interstate, you have to go to bus park. Let me not even pretend I do that, because I don't, right? but we know that moving from where our building is in Yaba, Lagos, for somebody to then go home, maybe River State. It's quite a long journey with many steps. There's a lot of cash involved. There's not transparency, etc. So they saw a clear opportunity to digitize, which benefits the people traveling, but it also opens opportunities for all of the bus companies and other companies. So they created this company, Nomadic Pod. We supported them through Semicolon Ventures, through some training. And now they're early in their journey, but they've had thousands of customers, they've saved money, they've saved stress for customers, for transportation providers. This is an example where government can support by saying, okay, let's provide information. Maybe Ministry of Transportation can help them provide access or meetings, etc. So government can enable, but we want to create the space for these innovators to start and scale their businesses on their own. So on the next slide, please, I believe this is my last. What would to leave us with? So for government, how can government work? We said we have challenges, but what can we do? Number one, there are a lot of partners who are available to provide support. So I'm currently running a company, but when government at federal or state level has called us to help develop strategies, to help them design programs, we do it. They don't pay us, we just do it on a volunteer basis if we believe that they are serious about implementing that program. I used to work for a donor-funded organization, led a donor-funded organization. I also note international donors are happy to put support behind initiatives but what they are what they look for is the impact, right? Partners will train, partners will deliver projects. So call us, we'll come. I would say that convene stakeholders. We have had probably 4 or 5 different commissioners for innovation and science and technology from different states in Nigeria visit our training facility in Yaba, in Semicolon's training facility. We have never seen our local government representatives unless there's somebody who's coming to collect money for something, right? If we need a permit. So if they call us, we will come. If there's a town hall, we will come. If the local government representatives even say, look, we know we want to create more jobs for youth, please, private sector, come and help us, and let's have a meeting and co-create a strategy. We will come, we will do it. The federal minister, Bosun Tijani, did that. I attended. We helped create a strategy. And private sector is now helping him implement it, right? So call us, we'll come. I would say partner with youth as well. Every day I have the privilege of working with young people who recognize all the problems around them and are eager to solve them. So with a little bit of support, we can convene that. We don't need a lot of budget. You can do it with no budget. I bring them the Semicolon. But let's also support our youth. Sometimes it's just giving them information, giving them encouragement. And then last, as I mentioned, let's also be learning together. So track key information, especially when we launch programs. This is how we also build trust and engagement with our communities. I'm always happy if we can have our community build dashboards, help you set up those systems. But let's be engaging and communicating with our stakeholders together. All right, thank you very much. I'll conclude here. It's been a pleasure.